My name is Tshego Kekana. I am a communications professional, founder of Alpha Destiny Communications, have been building a business for 9 years now. So I'm also very honored to be here to learn from our panelists and also from the speakers. So thank you. And I wanted to just say congratulations to Pat and his team for launching this event. And I hope that it's the first of many. So let's give them a round of applause. All right, so we are going to talk about, this is the first panel, we are going to talk about from SME to iconic brand, stories of transformation. Now, I know that my panel, they're going to introduce themselves, but I just want to say, Lihle, hello.
Hello.
Just to introduce Lihle. Lihle is the managing director at Maxhosa, so welcome. DJ Sbu is a radio personality, media personality, and founder of Mofaya Energy. And we have Morongwe Mokone, who is the co-founder of Mo Script. Please give my panel a round of applause. Before we start, just to break the ice, hello. It's funny that I know each and every one of you, and we've engaged in other sessions. So, to break the ice, what is the one fact about you, each of you, that no one knows about you?
Good morning, everyone. I think I call myself a backup singer. Laduma is the Beyonce, I'm the backup singer, and I love it.
Good morning, everybody. The one fact that nobody knows about me is that actually you went to high school with me. I don't think people know that, and you didn't know that either.
Oh, wow.
The one story about me is that I'm a good tennis player.
Oh, wow. Give them a round of applause. And the other thing, I don't know if people know, but Mo has a vineyard named after you in France.
By Verve Clicquot, not just the vineyard, by Verve Clicquot.
Hey! All right, so just to introduce our topic, every iconic brand we admire today started as a small venture. It started off as an idea, as a seed that's planted. It is fueled by passion, vision, and resilience. In Africa, transforming an SME into a celebrated brand requires not only innovation, but a deep connection in community, with communities, culture, and market trends. So our three iconic brands and entrepreneurs that we have today, who are also dynamic in their own fields and are leading fields, their journeys embody this transformation that we're going to talk about. And together we will explore their unique paths in building the brands and transforming the brands that you have. So I will start with you, Lihle. Maxhosa is a globally recognized luxury fashion brand, actually, not just a fashion brand, luxury fashion brand. It has become an iconic brand in the African luxury fashion. It has become an iconic brand in the global fashion industry. Can you take us back to the early days? What was the concept by Laduma? And also, where did you start fitting in and joining him in that vision?
So firstly, the brand was called a knitwear brand in the beginning, and then we moved from the word knitwear, we went to fashion. But we no longer call ourselves fashion, we call ourselves lifestyle, because we've ventured into more products that are lifestyle. So we are a lifestyle brand. Then Laduma in 2010 was studying at NMMU, where he had to find, if you have to do a dissertation, you have to find a solution. So his solution was that as a Xhosa man, he does not relate to the pieces that are being worn by amakrwala, which are Xhosa initiates. And he thought, what solution can I bring? And he said, when he went through that journey, he was wearing your Pringle of Scotland and other European brands. How are we practicing a traditional ceremony, however, we are not wearing our own brands? And for those who don't know, Laduma is my brother. So before our mom passed away, he taught all of us how to knit, but only Laduma was the one who's interested. So now his solution was, I've got this knitting machine. We're from Icebreaker, and Icebreaker is the biggest hub in South Africa that produces wool and mohair, not just for South Africa, but for internationally as well. He then went there and he designed 5 pieces of jerseys that could be worn by a makwala. And then that's how he then handed in his dissertation. And then there was a competition that he had to enter. It was called SDC, Dyers competition, where it was an international competition. There were 13 countries that had to compete. It was in London, and he actually won it. Soon as he won it, he came back and he was invited at Design in Daba. And at this time, he was already looking for manufacturer and so forth, because we only had that one machine at home. He was looking for a person who would be with his supplier. He went on stage during Design in Daba, had his very first public engagement with over 3,000 people, and spoke about brand Maxhosa. And that was when everybody then knew about the brand. So immediately when he walked out, there was a lady called Haneli Rupert, who has a store, still has a store in Long Street called Merchants on Long. She came and she gave him the first order. So that is the story of how Maxhosa began. So how I, Lihle, began to work for Maxhosa. So this year, April, I've been working for the brand for officially 10 years. However, my journey started way before that. I'm a PR professional. I started public relations at NMMU in PE. During the time, so the brand started in 2012. In 2012, I was doing my BTech at the time, and if you remember way back, there used to be blogs. I think Pat also said that he started as a blog. Yeah. So during our media studies assignment, we were given an assignment to write a blog start a blog about anything. And I sat and I said, anything for me is how proud I am about my brother and the vision that I see of brand Maxhosa. So as a student at the time, I then wrote a blog about him. And remember, this time he hadn't done fashion shows, the brand wasn't popular, but I could see the vision and I loved it during that time. So I wrote the blog. I think during that time, he didn't expect me, because I kept watching him, how hard he was working. So that is how I actually got into Maxhosa. I've worked at other corporates, but my heart had always been at Maxhosa. So in 2015, he then said to me, I'm going to study my master's at St. Martin's in London. Would you like to join? I quit my job, and that's how I started. I started with nothing. We had no store. We were still basically in PE. And since then, I've been part of the brand.
My word. Thank you so much for that. That is so powerful. And the fact that you supported your brother in his dream, and look at where it is now. So congratulations to you guys. Sbu, you built Mofaya from the ground up amidst negative commentary, and there was a lot of backlash in the early days. How would you say your personal brand and your influence helped you build Mofaya? And maybe tell us a bit about those early days of Mofaya.
Thank you once again. Appreciate the invite. I think on behalf of all the guys, would like to say Happy Women's Month to all of you guys. Enjoy your month. Have a great one. Thank you for the invite. Congratulations to the team putting it together. And I also would like to give Greg Maloka. I saw him at the door. Are you still here, Grootman? He's at the back. Please raise your hands. Or maybe please stand up. That's the guy who changed my life, man. Please give that guy a round of applause. Yeah. So I always have to give him his flowers every time I see him, because he changed my life. I was a young guy who always used to like to go to YFM, the old YFM in Bertram's. Back in the day. Some of you guys don't know that area, but it's around Kensington side when you go to Eastgate. That's where YFM was. YFM was a groundbreaking youth radio station in the country at the time. No radio station was playing Kwaito music at the time. We used to record off cassettes. Kwaito music was like an underground type of movement. We even used to go to places like Oria, Certain places, Pretoria was really, really well known for like good house music and go record. Some people would make that a business and sell those tapes and make money out of it, just pushing that culture. YFM came, it broke grounds, and it became a revolutionary station, and it built a lot of brands. I mean, today, people that are regarded as legends, Fat Joe, who's one of my role models, DJ Fresh, one of my role models, Semi T, Rude Boy, who does the afternoon drive right now on Radio 2000, is Paul Mnisi, Sispindi Kule, and the late great DJ Kabzela, who's sadly passed. Those guys were my role model. I wanted to be a part of YFM. I always used to just visit Y. I used to go to what is now University of Johannesburg. At the time it was Vets Tech. So I used to stay in Ponte City, that round building. So YFM was not far. It was literally a 20-minute walk. So every time I'd walk from my flat to YFM and just go hang out with the guys there. It wasn't easy in the beginning to get into the building, but I loved dressing nice. So it was easy for me to sort of open doors because I looked smart in a way. I was clean shaven. I didn't have dreadlocks at the time. So I eventually, to cut the long story short, I ended up entering talent search competitions. I ended up becoming a part of YFM. My first show, he gave me a graveyard slot, and then he gave me an opportunity to stand in for other DJs. Being inspired by all these incredible guys I was looking up to, I eventually became a part of YFM. That's how my career started. Graveyard radio at night, 2 to 6 in the morning. And if whatever you're doing right now, you feel people are not recognizing you, that's how I started. At the time, people call it graveyard because everybody assumes everyone is asleep, nobody's listening. But it was a youth station at the time, and it was pumping. And then that's how I started becoming a part of YFM. I just never looked back. I grew my career like that. And I got into the music industry. I met Lihle Ngxokolo-Nqini, who's now a politician. He used to work for Ghetto Rough, and he used to work for different record companies. He was promoting Umdlwembe, Wagazola 7. At the time, it was still new. Yizo was big at the time, and they just done the soundtrack. Zola had this single called Tinekas. Ghetto Fabulous. He was promoting that. He was promoting Mischief and Mavusana. I think they've since passed, may their soul rest in peace. He was promoting Ishmael, promoting Mendoza. So he used to come to YFM all the time and sample CDs, sample DJs with CDs. It was before the streaming era. Then we sort of became friends, and that's how me and TK started TS Records. All those conversations that we used to have behind the scenes. Starting TS Records gave me a leg up for me to start making music. God was great. That's how I learned to become a part of creating brands with TK. We're intentional about everything we did. When we released Mzegezege for the first time, our first artist, we're intentional about how he was going to look like, who he was going to represent, what type of audience he was going to speak to, what type of language, the type of music he was going to make, etc. Moving on to Brown Dash, may his soul rest in peace. And, you know, we worked with Pro, we worked with Izinyoga, we worked with Zahara, we worked with a lot of people in the industry. That's where I got a nick of building a brand. And when Sipiwa approached me, who's a chemical engineer, he's in the mining space, he's a mining expert, around 2012, 2013, I was at the height of my entertainment career. I had top 10 music at the time. I was on Friends Like These. I was on, you know, Metro FM. So I was on primetime mainstream media in the country. So I was one of the, you know, one of the, call it for lack of a better word, biggest guys in the country, one of the most talked about guys. And, you know, it helped also that I had hit music, you know, on the charts. So when he approached me, he told me that he had this idea of starting an energy drink because he had an energy drink already in the marketplace, but he was not doing well. He was not sticking with the audience, not doing that well. And the energy drink at the time was around 2-3 years old. They had started it in 2010. And then he recruited me to become a part of that energy drink. The energy drink brand was called Edge, a blue can. Some of you might be familiar with it. I don't see it in the marketplace now. Last saw it, I think, sometime last year in December. They are very niche. So when I agreed to become a part of it, his other business partners were not interested to have me on board. Eventually, they folded, they agreed, but the offer wasn't interesting. You know, I knew the capability that I had and the type of offer that they had on the table for me to become a part of the brand and participate. It wasn't that attractive enough. But I guess Pure believed in my potential, and I think he had seen what we had done with him in the music industry, and he sort of believed that I could add value. He said, if I were to sell my shares at Edge and go at it with you and start a whole brand new energy drink brand, would you come on board? I said, go right ahead, let's do it, bro. And then he said, you're not going to see me for quite some time, but I'll communicate with you over the phone. I'm going to go work on it. Sbu is brilliant mind. He's an academic, vets guy, graduate, amazing guy. Went to do his research in the energy drink sector, and he was already seeing the trends in the industry. At the time, Red Bull was the biggest energy drink in the whole world, even in the country. Very premium, but Dragon was a new energy drink at the time. But Dragon had mastered something that nobody had done in the country before in taking this Red Bull model and putting it in a bigger can and making it more affordable for the masses. And they opened up wholesalers all over the townships in the country. That's what they did, and they mastered that. And they were sort of blowing up in the country, and that was Dragon. So when we came in at first, we thought we were building a premium energy drink brand. A couple of months later, he came, he presented it, he came up with the word Mofaya, which we believe, you know, it's such an incredible word. You can pronounce it in any language because it's not fire as in F-I-R-E. It's fire, F-A-Y-A. That was intentional because of, number one, trademark purposes, but number two, you can pronounce fire in any language. And already it was known for people to go Mofaya, Namarasta, Nabom Chaban, hey, Mofaya, Mofaya. How crazy is it that I had actually even done songs in the past where I go Mofaya, and Nabo Oskido had done songs that go Mofaya. So we kind of felt it would be easier to the tongue, it would be easy to pronounce, and it's just few words. It's fire, right? And that was basically the birth of Mofaya. It's a long story, but that's pretty much started through my business partner recruiting me and selling me this idea, and then we came on board, and that's how we started it.
Wow. That is an incredible story. Thank you so much. Mo, my homegirl, and I knew that you were my homegirl, but I probably forgot that we went to the same school. Yeah. So you and your sister, correct, started Mo's Crib, which is a sustainable home decor brand, which is now global, that uses eco-friendly materials and empowers local people. Can you tell us a bit about Mo's Crib?
Yeah, so essentially, like you mentioned, it's a Pretoria brand that was founded by myself and my sister, Michelle Mugoni. And Moscript, basically, like you said, it's a manufacturing company. And one of our flagship products is made from PVC plastic. PVC, some of you might know, is one of the least recycled plastics in the world. And we recycle PVC water pipes, and we collect it from landfills and construction sites. But, you know, we do other products as well from grass and other various material. You may see some of our products from some of the retailers that you know and love. So you can find our product at Woolworths Home, At Home, Mr. Price Home. We are also one of the biggest exporters of craft in Africa, selling to international markets. So you can find us in one of the biggest retailers, Target, Crate and Barrel, CB2. We recruit 280 staff members, started the business only 6 years ago. And, you know, we've been mentioned by the likes of Oprah Winfrey, Martha Stewart, and like you mentioned, Veuve Clicquot has honored myself with a vineyard in France recently to just celebrate the works that we're doing, not only in our community, but also in the environment.
6 years?
Yes, 6 years.
Wow, that deserves a round of applause.
Thank you.
Oh my word. 6 years, 236?
80, so we have 280 staff members.
Oh my goodness, that is incredible. And just coming to you, Mo, sustainability is at the heart of your brand, correct? How did that happen? What was that idea that made you and Michelle just decide that we are going to turn this idea into a brand? And did you foresee that it was going to receive such global recognition?
So how the brand started was that I am a law school dropout. So I had a roommate in London who taught me how to make origami sculptures. The roommate was Japanese, and if you don't know what origami is, it's a Japanese art form of folding paper and making that into different sculptures. And so I started making these sculptures when I was 18 years old. Little did I know that one day it would be the beginning of Mo's Crib. And so I had odd jobs. I mean, I remember working as a nanny, as a cleaner, as an executive assistant. And so 10 years later, fast forward from me learning that origami sculpture artwork, my sister invited me to a market in Pretoria in 2015, which is known as Kamers. And so what we thought was just us going there to just drink some, cocktails and have some, content for Instagram. I actually saw somebody making roses from newspaper, and I thought to myself, oh my God, hang on a second, I could actually come here and exhibit and sell my origami sculptures. So we did that. We applied to attend the market the following year, 2016, and we were street vendors at this market, and I was making the product, which two things emerged when we went to that market. One, the people were saying, wow, this is really a beautiful product. It's made from sustainable material. It's not invasive to the environment. And number two, people loved the fact that it was eclectic. You could use it as a decor piece, but also it's practical. You can use it as a planter in the home, etc. And so we won the best product of the market that year. We had full-time jobs. She's an agricultural economist. I was an executive assistant at Nestle. We had really good jobs. And so the following year, we would do this market, for fun, once a year. And the following year, we thought, okay, what are we going to introduce that really, can match with the first product that we had? And that's when we found that PVC plastic was actually the least recycled plastic, because we wanted a product that had the same characteristics as the product we started with, which was non-invasive to the environment and also a practical piece for the home. And then we introduced the PVC recycled basket, and that really was the beginning of Most Crib. And when we first started the business, we didn't think that it would be where it is today. But I think the challenges that we had after we quit our jobs in 2019, 6 months before COVID, made us realize that we cannot go into market, we cannot sell baskets at markets anymore. We wanted to sell in bulk. That's pretty much how we then knocked on doors of retailers, and luckily we were able to start working with the retailers, which is one of the reasons why I feel like build our brand so quickly, because that brand alignment, that brand affiliation gave us the brand trust that the direct consumers now know and love. Even though 85% of our clientele is white, we're now seeing that even the black market is now starting to rise up and see that this brand is really a brand to look out for, because we sell at these top high-end retailers also in the world, and we've been mentioned by the likes of Oprah Winfrey, Martha Stewart, Emma Greed, one of the founders of Skims and Good American, called us last year and told us that we're one of the top 10 companies to emerge in the USA. And so those recognitions are what has really helped us build a very, very lucrative brand that we now know and love and call Most Crib.
Amazing. Now, I want to ask the audience, is anyone familiar with Most Crib products? By show of hands. So in the audience, Michelle, but we can't count you. So, and I think it happened to me. I wasn't familiar with your products until last year, at the Jacaranda event. Yeah. And I realized that I have a Most Crib product in my home. Wow. It's a laundry basket that I bought at Mr. Price Home, and I didn't know. So how many of us would go to Mr. Price Home and actually check the name of the brand, that it's a locally South African brand?
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So please, let's support Most Crib. At your nearest Woolworths. And
yes, so you can find our products at Woolworths, Mr. Price Home, at home. We will be launching at Poetry. You can also find us internationally, Target, Crate and Barrel, CB2, all over the world. We sell in the USA, Canada, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Philippines. We've also just recently launched a couple of weeks ago in Costa Rica. So we are literally all over the world. Yes.
Oh my God. Yes. All right. Let me go to Maxhosa. Maxhosa is the beauty of Maxhosa is that it took the Xhosa culture to the world, which is the core of Maxhosa. But I can imagine building that global brand and scaling globally came with its challenges. I want you to tell us, Lihle, a bit about that journey.
So, I don't want you to say it took the Xhosa culture to the world. It took the African culture to the world.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
The brand used to be called Maxhosa by Laduma, but in 2018, 19, sometime, we then transitioned and called it Maxhosa Africa, because it is inspired by the African continent, not just South Africa, but outside of the borders of South Africa as well. So firstly, like Gula Duma was very criticized as how could he name the brand Maxhosa? And we've seen Mazulu, Matswana, and we're not trying to be tribalist in any manner or form. However, for him, he was literally inspired by his culture, and he was bold about it. And he's been told in big spaces that the brand will never go anywhere with that name. Firstly, people won't be able to pronounce it. They can't. They call it Maxhosa, Max, and all of those names internationally. But look at the brand now. So for us trying to go internationally, one of the funniest facts about the brand is that its very first fashion show was actually international rather than in South Africa. So in 2012, he was in London and was in a fashion week in London. That's when then we had to like relook at the price structure and so forth. The European market was very interested in the brand. Then we came back home and we then had our first fashion show in 2014, which was called the Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week at the time. And that's when South Africans started to get a bit of recognition about the brand. And throughout the years, we've also discovered that as much as we are a global brand, we don't take our South African market for granted, because that is the market who have actually made us who we are today. So probably we've been doing a lot of travels in the world just to go see if where could we actually fit. And also because we've got an online store that delivers worldwide, those analytics are able to tell us where the most interest is at. So before we open up a brick and mortar store, in 2019, we had our very first fashion show in New York because we knew that New York is the market that we want to go into. So we had a fashion show and we thought it's successful. In 2020, we're gonna open, but then COVID hit. Now we needed to go back and restructure as to how are we going to now hit the global market if we are not able to travel. Obviously, the online store was there, but it was not enough. People want to touch and feel. They want to wear the product to see how it can fit them. So it actually took us 4 or 5 years to go open in New York. However, during that time, we've been doing our research. We do talks all over the world. We do exhibitions. We've done so much during that time. Last year in June, we finally went to New York and opened a store in Soho, Manhattan. We finished a year this year, and we then said, how about we then change the location? Because it is all about where you are. The US, as much as we say US is similar to Johannesburg, the Caucasian market is a higher percentage. So what we always have to strategize and look as to who is in that certain area. Now we're gonna change areas. We are announcing areas soon. So our mission in life is always just pack up and leave and go where the next market is at. What we're also doing right now in Europe, last year, March, we are the only African brand who is in the official Paris Fashion Week schedule. So that is huge. That for us is huge because it's not an easy place to get into. The criteria for you to be there takes a very long process. We had knocked on that door for many years. We've got so many fashion shows, Milan fashion show, New York, Paris, but Paris is the highest of them all. That's where it actually happens. So when we then got accepted, we were like, oh my goodness. We had to hire agencies in Paris to translate our applications to French and so forth, because some of the things that we take for granted is that everybody will know and understand English. They don't. Yeah. Our application only got accepted when we went to the market and found someone who are able to translate and know what they want. The application, the newspaper, Vogue clippings, we had to do a whole lot for us to be accepted. So what then happens is that we are then accepted for what they call a presentation. A presentation is maybe a mannequin. It takes 2 to 3 hours for you to be accepted. Now we need to reapply. While we are already in the ecosystem, we need to reapply to do a fashion show. So there are multiple ways for you to be international. However, once you are there, we don't take for granted anything, because we always say, outside of South Africa, we are dropping the ocean, and we're gonna make sure that we continue our marketing. We're gonna make sure we travel and stay in those places so that we know what the market actually wants. So going global is not easy. So, some place that we're also experiencing in now very soon we'll be in South Korea. For us, it's about market research. What are the South Koreans wearing? If you look at the biggest luxury brands such as LVMH, the LVMH group, their biggest market is in South Korea. It's not even in Europe. The most people who buy are in South Korea. What are people in South Korea doing that they are a biggest market on a European brand? So it's up to us now to always make sure that we do not stay stagnant in what we know, which is South Africa, is also to go outside. And like I said, we will always respect our South African market because they are the ones who wear our clothes and also travel with our clothes internationally and make a footprint for us.
Thank you so much for that. And I think a takeaway from that is market research is very important, and language, which you're absolutely right, because understanding the language in the market and not assuming that English is a language that's spoken throughout the world, but also understanding your audience, because you said that the how you spaced out your how you strategize around the stores in the US is based on your audience and the people that buy. So thank you so much for that. Sorry, last question to you, Sbu, because I think we're running out of time, is in building your business, this is Mofaya, and I know that you wear a lot of hats. Energy drinks is a very competitive market, right? And I would assume that it's a tough market. I would assume it's a tough market because there's not a lot of energy drinks as opposed to normal soft drinks within the market. What are the challenges that you also found in building Mofaya? And I think for me, your story is really about resilience more than anything, because you've gone through so much transformation. And today, Mofaya, I would assume there's a lot of testimonies from the young entrepreneurs that you empowered in communities, right? And taking young people, unemployed people, to actually build a business and utilize that in growing Mofaya. And I want you to also talk a little bit about that business model. You know, instead of just fighting to be in retail stores everywhere, you also formulated a business model where you want to empower young people to sell on street corners, to sell on robots. What are the challenges that you experienced, and what also inspired that business model?
Thank you. She talks about business model, and we always have these conversations around marketing and branding, etc. And they say branding and marketing are distinct yet interconnected business activities. Branding defines a company's unique identity and values, while marketing focuses on communicating that brand to potential customers. When you listen to her and she says there were Maxhosa by Laduma in the beginning, you probably didn't even realize when they rebranded to Maxhosa Africa, but you just started getting used to Maxhosa Africa, right? It's the same thing, Mo's Crib or Mofaya Energy Drink. That's how it started. It started as Mofaya Energy Drink. And I want to emphasize on this because I know you guys are probably starting, or you probably already are running your business. It's one thing to run a business and run a business to become a brand. There's people who are tendering, who don't care what their name of their company is. It's Siya Phambili Trading 74. As long as they can invoice and the money comes, they don't care. And they've been running that maybe for 11 years. They're making money, they don't care. But there's other people who are running a business, but they're also building a brand. That's a difficult thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. And how do you achieve that? You achieve that, obviously, as they've been saying. And thank you very much for your stories. You guys have been you've done incredible work. You've been awesome inspiration to us. And some of the work that we do. And when we sit down and speak in boardrooms about some of the local players that are doing incredible work. And thank you for not hiding yourselves wherever you are. Thank you for coming out, sharing the stories, sharing the knowledge, and spreading that knowledge for you guys to even take the bait and do better. Nati, we rebranded, so people are not even aware that it's no longer Mofaya Energy Drink. It's now Mofaya, right? So The difficult thing at the time, entrepreneurship wasn't as a buzzword as it is now, where it's a little bit easier. Every company wants to be seen to be empowering entrepreneurs and black players, transformation, etc. At the time, you started, guys, at what, 2010? Around that time, we were talking about this 2012, and we launched in 2014, January. It wasn't as cool. It wasn't easy. And you need to remember there isn't only corruption in government. There's also corruption and bureaucracy in corporate South Africa. So in some places where you try and get in, other people don't have you as an interest to get in. You can sell your story as much as you can. Here we black owned. Here we do this and that for students. Here we give out bursaries. They'll look at you and smile, and maybe it's within their best interest to have a black-owned business on their shelves so they can look good and have some good PE scoring. But sometimes you don't know who gives who an envelope, when and how, right? And you don't know those things. So sometimes some people, it's also within their best interest to keep on selling what makes them money. Why must they entertain your thing? Because your story is beautiful. Because yours tastes better. Like, I already have these. I've already have Red Bull. I already have Play. I already have Monster. I already have Dragon. Like, why must I sell yours? How is yours different from these? How is yours going to outsell these? I'm already making good money selling these energy drinks. There is no need for me to sell yours. So it wasn't easy. Whether we knocked on at a ShopRite, Spar, Boxer, Pick and Pay, you name them, it wasn't easy. It was a very difficult thing to do. So much so that we had to come up with a model to go and approach cash and carries, wholesalers. And in that marketplace, that's the model. That's how I was brought up. I come from a spaza shop. Sometimes link an event, sometimes link drive visa in 17, 18, I'm in your store, you know. And I saw how my mother was running her hair salon, how his spaza shops as Lihle was being run. I got used to selling at the spaza shop. I was your store, I stock taking, ukbala, makesa so, you know, and nang tengisa, this much makes us this much. All of that, I grew up under that environment. Most times, my mom would go to Charlie Packers to go stock my hair products, small. Or my mom would go to Crown Mines, like Boma Jumbo Cash and Carry. So I was already used to that environment growing up. So now, when this happened for us to it wasn't, I won't say we're brilliant about it. We were just stuck between a rock and a hard place. We had our backs against the wall. Where like we need to sell this product because you need to sell, and in our shelf life is 12 months. So if your product is, and you also have got cash flow issues when you're a new business. Ngapa, you are trying to get funding, you're not getting funding, you're using your own monies and you're bootstrapping this thing. And ngapa, you don't want to also buy too much where you don't know how long it's going to take you to sell it. You know, so it's not an easy thing. Retail is not easy. Some of you guys were in retail, you know. And I always say to people, it became the most difficult thing I've ever had to do. But I always thank and I always plug a company called Devlin Cash and Carry. They're in Kliptown. One of our guys, Besnevenyane one that time, you know. I remember the guy we worked with, I said, this is Mofaya, this is a brand new energy drink, it's going to be big one day. Please get this one into your shelves at Nanani. And they gave us problems, and they would sometimes then he would not name drop me. And then the one time at Devlin Cash and Carry, they told him to bring me along. And then I went there. And I told the story. And then they were like, you know what? We don't want another energy drink. There's too many of them. And like, we're already making money through Dragon, through blah, 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 blah. Like, okay. For some reason, we were so persuasive. And because of, so I'll tell you what we used to do. So because I'm a public figure, right? And the work that I do. So sometimes I say, meeting is difficult. Ngenza sure ukuthi ngidlula ku staff sabantu abamnyama yabo. Just ukubachabanyana ukuthi kube nomnyakazo nomsindonyana neithombe, you know. Because some of these guys, uyawazi ama meeting ungena already umuntu sekadwadla imask sekakubheka kanje. Now uyayibona le meeting is difficult le. Like you're already starting from a minus, you know. You're not sitting with somebody who's willing to assist you. You're sitting with somebody who has already charged you and they just want to give you that meeting so that like you can even see the facial expression. So because we're already used to that, we were attending so many meetings. So I had to use my DJ Sbu charm. I mean, I'm Sbusiso, but I had to use DJ Sbu. So when no cross about Chabura, and I'm like, I'm coming, I'm just going to go to a meeting. And then when you sit this guy, Mhlambo Peter Rukos, is like, why is my staff so excited to see you? Who are you? And then that would break the ice. And then things would be easier. So use whatever you can to your advantage. You know? If mangabu muhle, pretty privilege, use it. Use it to your advantage. If mangabu amplwako, exactly, because guys, it's not easy to build a business. I know it looks good online, it looks good when we succeed. And even us, we're going through challenges, but it's never easy to use whatever it is that works to your advantage. So that's how that model came, because of Devlin Cash and Carry. We gave them 10 cases, and then they were like, if at the end of this month these 10 cases are not done, please don't be mad at me and look at me as a bad guy. Masood at the time, because they run family businesses, those guys. And it's like, don't accuse me of being a bad guy. You're gonna have to come pick up this product of yours. So after we gave him that 10 cases, I went downstairs to that place, that cash, and then through my phone. I basically used my phone to build the Mofaya brand. We didn't have any marketing budgets, we didn't have any funding from nobody, so we had to use the little that we got. And I used to just use these videos, post them on Facebook. The guy gives us a call the following day, says your 10 cases is done. Wow. 2 days late, and then he says, bring me a pallet. So a pallet is one Mofaya, 24 of them is what we call a case, a tray. And then 80 of those is what makes up a pallet. And then we give him a pallet. 2 days later, he gives us a call. It's like, your pallet is almost done. Bring me 5 pallets. We bring him 5 pallets. They're done in a week. Once they're done in a week, he's like, okay, cool. I need a truck now, but I need a meeting with your other business partners. Let's sit down and have a deal. And I'm also going to connect you with other families that are in the space. Ohlanga Cash and Carry, I'll connect you with some guys in Limpopo. I'll connect you with some guys in KZN. So sometimes you can make an impression, and the impression that you are making, that person is going to even open bigger doors for you. There might not be somebody that looks like they're going to help you, but treat everybody the same, with respect, with integrity, being punctual on time, being professional in your emails, even how you communicate with, because you never know who is who, because one person might just open multiple doors for you. And as I speak today, I think Devland alone buys, I don't know, 20-something, 30-something trucks from us per month. And each cash and carry, another cash and carry buys 5 trucks a month. Another cash and carry buys 20 trucks a month. So we do over 100 trucks a month. We've grown. And the model was to empower the young person. At the time, I remember Mofaya, they would buy it for an equivalent of 5 Rand. And they would sell it for 10 Rand. So they would make 100% profit. And that's the message I started putting out there. With, you're unemployed, you're person, you're hungry, here's an opportunity to just put bread on the table. You probably might make 300 Rand, 500 Rands a day, 100 Rands a day, and I always want to thank those guys, and I call them hustlers. And that's what I also started doing, because these are the guys that keep my business alive. I have to be like them. I have to go to the street every weekend. Then I put on my overalls or t-shirts, Mofaya 10 Rand, Mofaya 10 Rand. So with that experience of growing up as Paza Shop, no Kuluma, no Konukshaya, I'd use those skills, you know, and then I'd film myself with my phone, and then I'd post those videos online. And what that then did, it would then encourage all these young people throughout the country, like, I'm sitting down, I'm unemployed. Like, here's a solution. Let me try this Mofaya thing out. So much so that now it's like, what, almost 12 years later, some of them come and say, yo, bro, I'll give you another story, a quick one. I know we don't have time. I just got another great opportunity to work with Uber Eats. So I just got into the food business. We're building a new brand. I call Mzake's Kitchen. So the guy who gave us that meeting tells me a story. But the reason why I called you to the head office to come and sit, and the reason why we wanted to partner with you, is because when I was down and out in my life years ago, I had lost my job at Discovery. What kept me going for 2 years was selling Mofaya. So it wasn't a model we came up with. We were forced to go there. So much so that now a lot of the people that were not interested to have us in those big retail outlets, it's them now who are calling us. Come through, let's negotiate rebates, let's negotiate discounts. So now we are pretty much almost everywhere, like Pick n Pay, Boxer, Spar, ShopRite, Checkers. We're everywhere, but we're still not everywhere. There's still a lot of room to grow. There's a lot of opportunity. So there's a lot of money, guys. And you can look at us over here on stage. There is opportunity from a 10 Rand product with me sitting here, all the way to a 10,000 Rands product, $1,000 product, or dollars, baby, because you guys are speaking dollars.
Dollars, yes.
So there's opportunity. Like, now we don't just think into yala Soweto or kapa ko Katlehong fela, kapa mo Jozi fela, or in Gauteng or in South Africa. Think big, which is exactly what they've done. It might end up becoming a global brand, just what they've done. Examples here.
Drops mic. Wow, well done, well done. That is an incredible story. Are you having plans of going across the continent? 'Cause
Yes,
there
so-
are opportunities.
Yes, ma'am. So we've trademarked Mofaya globally. As you'd know, the trademarking thing, how difficult it is to do and how expensive, it's an expensive exercise. Miles was speaking about it earlier on. It's one thing to trademark it in South Africa, but
Yeah.
another to trademark it globally, not only just Africa. And it's also not easy to get into markets like the United States, especially if you're in the FMCG space. You need to be accredited by bodies like FDA, and that's another process there. Sorry, thank you. That's another process there. So when they're talking about tariffs, for instance, people like us do get affected because we've got goals of going to sell there, and we've had to go through those processes to register and help get people to assist us and help us for us to qualify our products to eventually get into that marketplace. And we have. So we've not only trademarked it globally, but we already are speaking to other players who manufacture beverages in America, and we're already negotiating pricing. But the goal definitely is to go big. But we also have got players, like Nigerian players who maybe buy a shipping container of about 10 Mofaya pallets. They take it to London. Somebody takes it to Nigeria. Somebody buys a container or maybe 10 pallets to Ghana. So we've got those types of people. Or they buy maybe 7 pallets to Zimbabwe. So we are in a lot of countries like that. But we have not necessarily opened up our own wholesale and warehouses all over, but we are in pockets of a lot of places. Just last month, we're in China with the presidential delegation of young South African businesses and showcasing our products in Dubai. Then we just didn't stop. We created some relationships with those people because eventually you want to go to as many markets as you can, but other people also can decide market. Yeah. But sometimes we've been at it for like 11 years. You want to grow.
So side note, we're doing a lot of work in the Middle East now. It's so open for energy drinks. It's a big energy drinks market, by the way. Side note.
So kuluma, siyabonga.
Please give a round of applause to the panel. This was such a very incredible and insightful session. Thank you so much. I don't know if we've got 2 minutes for questions. We do have questions. Pat, can I take just questions? I am putting Pat on the spot, and I'm going to quickly ask I'm going to take 3 hands, but please make your questions very quick, and please make your answers panel very quick as well. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Morning, my name is Sizo Chabalala. I'm a farmer. So my first question is the importance of compliance in terms of when you are in business, and also the importance of pushing hard and also that hardness creating luck. Because I think I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, we try to open doors and then we don't comply. So the importance of compliance, having the necessary paperwork that's going to actually push your product on the stores. So can you talk about that? And one last thing, please don't leave Sbu. Thank you. Bye.
Can I just take the questions and then we answer? Second question.
Morning, everyone. Sbusiso Leope. I'm an educator at the University of Johannesburg, so not an entrepreneur. But I've got a huge passion in terms of entrepreneurial education. So that's my passion, actually. I just want to see that in the classrooms. I need this to actually take place in the educational space, not the conventional way, because you can't teach passion, right? But how do we incorporate all of this into the education sector? Because that's where we solve most of the problems. The brewing problem that we currently have in the country, which is when we know it's about to burst, and we've got to play a part. How do we incorporate that? Because then we're able to produce students that are able to actually not just go in that pipeline, the Boerewors role. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? That we're creating as a higher education as well. How do we create those into those particular students, and then they come back and actually employ the likes of the similar way that Sbu is actually doing, the way that you guys are doing, because we're not only focusing on that. Remember, we've got other kids as well in the townships who are unemployed and uneducated too. So how do we incorporate all of this and create one thing that actually solves the society's problem that we currently have, which is high unemployment? Because this is the solution. Getting a job is not really a solution. How do we fix that? So that's my question. It's coming from a passion, by the way.
Thank you, Sbusiso. The lady in the front.
Hi, this one is for DJ Sbu, and I want to applaud you for the change of language that you always do. You communicate very well between our corporate to our hearts. I wanted to ask you, would you ever rebrand Mofaya to make it very sleek and for the upper market, for millennials and upper market who are in corporate environments and stuff like that? Would that ever be the place? Because if you see how the other brand looks like, the sleekness and can fit into a purse, would you ever do that for us?
Thank you so much for the questions. The first question was, apologies.
Compliance.
Compliance, yes. The importance of
Oh,
compliance.
okay, I'll start. You have to. You know, as I was talking about the FDA, which is a regulatory body in America, they regulate anything that has to do with food, drugs, and that type of stuff. You have to make sure that it's, even in South Africa, Tina, when we started, one of the most difficult things that we've had to go through was a negative publicity through an article that was written by Sunday World that went out and said Mofaya was not SABS approved. The most difficult thing they've had to do for that was even people who were interested to take on our brand, they kind of felt, is your brand safe to consume? Number one, this thing as yours. The next thing, you know what I mean? Like, because people, you can get lawsuits, etc. So you have to comply in any industry that you're in, whether it's health, it's in mining, you always have to comply. And right now, I also do some work in property development space. You have to comply. 11 months later, because the government has got a right to do so, because you did not comply through certain stages. So compliancy. That's the most important word every entrepreneur should abide by. And I'm sure you guys in your industries as well, they're all regulated, because otherwise, so definitely compliancy. You have to always do your research and understand the business model that you're putting together, or the industry that you're getting into, what is needed for you to be there. That's why it's always important for you to have mentors who've run businesses before, especially mentors who are in the same line of work that you're in. Even if it's not older people, maybe, even if you don't meet them, just follow those people online. Read about their stories, about their companies, their brand, and research about the regulatory bodies in the country that regulate your space, so that you make sure that you always comply, because that's one thing that can destroy your brand. That's what I'd say with compliance. You want me to answer all three and then give it up? Or? Okay, and then I'll go to, you spoke about the educational space and how do we take these types of lessons into institutions. I think it has already started, you know, big up to programs like these about pattern brands. I know a lot of people that are doing these types of work. We've also, were the people who've been doing these types of work through a company called Leadership 2020, encouraging a culture of entrepreneurship, and sometimes, you know, we do short courses, we'd write books, we just get this knowledge out there as much as we can. I remember at the time there were also events by what was that? You remember Thad? Yeah, Lebogo. Who remembers Thad? The hookup dinner. Those were big in Joburg back then. But anyway, you know, movements like that, like where are they? That's why I love what he's doing. So I think institutions are accommodating entrepreneurship. And I think, yesterday I was speaking at UNISA Business School. They're also getting people who are on the ground, who are running businesses, who are experiencing these challenges, who are growing this business, to come and give these talks, these master classes. And there's also information online. We are all online right now. So I do think institutions are sort of adapting to what's going on, including banks. Those are the most important institutions. Banks and funding institutions, they're slowly starting to tailor-make themselves to be friendlier to the entrepreneurs so they can give us money. I think it is slowly changing, not at a faster rate, though, but it is changing. And then my last answer that I'll have, I think my sisters will add on to what I've just said. Rebranding, as I did say earlier on, it started as Mofaya energy drink, but now the branding is Mofaya. It's just Mofaya. You know, if you don't come from South Africa, you'll just see Mofaya. What is this? And then you'll Google it. So Mofaya, we're giving ourselves room for us to be able to maybe venture into other things later on. You don't know. I don't even remember if this waistcoat is written Mofaya or just Mofaya. So you can see it's no longer Mofaya energy drink, but Mofaya. But also in accommodating the hotels, the nightclubs, we are working on a more slimmer can. The one we started with actually initially. Since Chalaguti is your computer and Red Bull, Sabona e-bioscope, you know. And then we were like, no, let's go for the mass market. And that was a game changer for us, going for the mass market. It changed our lives forever. And that has been incredible. We learned so much. But yeah, we are working for next year for the, so Abisa Kutama mixer, Elukshin Zitama dash. Like a slim oak dash, our mixer, and also just for that hotel market and nightclubs, that model Red Bull. It's one of those where now you that niche market, we are growing into that space. But the brand itself, also Mofaya, it's now open for maybe in the future, we might do any other thing. There's brands who've, I mean, Konaman's not driving more to, but in brand so, Frichi, ileo brand, phone yako ileo brand. And there's other brand like Abo Samsung, Abo LG, selling appliances, they're also selling phones, they're selling TV. So you never know where your brand might end up being there. So don't also just box it into just that particular category.
I think I want to go to Budi when he... So sometimes you don't know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. I think earlier it was said leadership is also about trying. Sometimes you generally don't know. However, it's always important that you make sure that you know. Sometimes we've been in a position where we would have missed a big job because USARS is investigating something. That's compliance. And then that for you was going to be setting you for the years to come, but if you're not compliant, then you are going to miss that. As much as we operate in a couple of industries, we operate in manufacturing as well. So manufacturing has different compliances. We under a bargaining council, there is unions, there's this, there's that. So every other day while you are busy dealing with this one, you'll also learn a new compliant every day. Like this week I've sat in a meeting with the union and they came with something I've never heard before. I'm like, yo, so fast food about it. Always know that compliance is the most important because you'll miss such big opportunities if you don't comply. And your industry will be known by you. And the beauty about life these days is that algorithm helps you to whatever industry that you're in. Whatever you go search online, you'll find more information about it. It's always important to do research. I think we spend most of our time doing research than actually designing clothes and lifestyle pieces itself. Lastly, when you speak about education, that's one of my biggest passions in life. The academic space is growing very much. We've seen that Xhosa has been covered now in high school curriculums. When kids meet with Duma, they know about him. They are no longer learning about Jan van Riebeck that we had to learn about in our time. I've got a nephew in high school, he's a matric. The business he is studying and the business we studied is not the same. Right now, he knows more than we know. He has an opinion in the business as well and asks us, Haibo Magazi, why ningenzi so? And also, I can't say was awazi because he is actually right because it has now changed in that space. And like in the next week, I'm speaking in AUJ in the faculty of architecture. Because if architect means it's all about design, and we're also in the design space, even though it's not. Also now seeing and recognizing us, and we go there, we're speaking about the real life. So it's up to you, lecturers, as well, to invite us to come to those spaces.
I was going to touch on the same topic about education and embedding that in university and in high school. Because as I mentioned, I'm a law school dropout and I had to have a lot of grit and a lot of passion in order to make it. the things, and we were speaking about this with my sister Michelle this morning, about how do we elevate education? You know, how do we teach the young ones how much grit they need? I think, you know, my sister and I got into this business thinking we didn't even know anything about investment. We didn't even know how to read a financial statement. We didn't even know so many things, compliance, for instance. And these are some of the elements that are missing. But, I will say but, you cannot train me out of needing funding. So I see a lot of ESD programs coming up, popping up everywhere. They're taking so much money from corporate. And instead of putting that into small businesses, they would rather train you or give you like, you know, tick box exercises. Let's do HR training. Let's do, and then and from that, they're able to get so much money from corporates and not putting that back into small businesses. And this is what we've been seeing. So you cannot train me outside of needing funding. I need funding. I need funding more than I need training, actually.
Reminded me of Skinny Sbu. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. That is our panel. Thank you so much to our panel. Thank you for the time.